So we're going to do a pre-scrutineering check of a racing hovercraft. So this is the sort of thing you would be expected to do at a race meeting before you submit it for scrutineering, or preferably before, to make sure that you've got everything covered before you attend a race meeting. We're using an old racing craft. It's already got a logbook, so all we've got to do is make sure that the craft hasn't changed significantly and continues to comply with the regulations, and we are going to use the craft safety checklist, which is available on the website as a guide for which aspects of the craft that we need to check. We also check that there were no defects from the last time the craft was operated, and again that would be expected to be written down in the logbook. So we check that the craft identity meets that on the logbook, and then we go through the logbook just to make sure that there are no defects from previous operation and that we've got the correct fan type, engine type and anything else that may have been changed or maintained during the last period that it was operated. I'm going to take a quick look underneath now, just to make sure that there's no loose objects. There's skids on this particular craft, so we make sure that they're secure, that there's no bolts or raised items projecting below the floor, and just to make sure that there are no holes in the floor itself. Then we move on to checking the periphery of the craft, looking for sharp objects, make sure that the handles are secure and capable of being used correctly and haven't deteriorated during storage. And then we also need to make sure that the tow rope is also secure and that the float and the length of rope is still attached and hasn't disappeared during the period of storage. Moving inside the craft now, we're looking at the controls, so make sure the handlebars move freely, make sure that the control cables are not snagging on anything, and that the throttle can be, the throttle flyback operates on full lock in either direction. We make sure that lanyard operates correctly. We're not going to start the engine to prove that at this stage, but we just make sure that everything is where it should be, and that other controls such as the splitter operate without any serious significant projections that may cause harm if you were to fall against them. We then move to the back of the craft, make sure the fuel tank is secure, make sure that the fuel hoses are not perished, again something that can happen during periods of non-operation, and just make sure that all the control cables, wires and engine fittings are secure. We're looking at the guarding now, make sure that the guard is secure and that the fail-safe ties are also fitted. They should be located 4 per guard, and make sure you can't get your fingers into any rotating objects. Moving to the back, make sure that the rudders and any other control surfaces are free and secure. Make sure that the cable is correctly attached and isn't likely to depart the craft. And then we just check that the fan hasn't got too much slack in it that might indicate a problem with the bearings or a problem with the belt tracking. Looking at hot objects such as the exhaust pipe, make sure that they're secure as well. Make sure that they're not too close to the hull and have been mounted correctly. A quick check of the clothing before we depart for the race meeting is always a good idea. Make sure you've got all of the equipment, and then having confirmed that you're happy with the condition of your own craft, you would be expected to sign off the scrutineering checklist, and you would also countersign the logbook ready for presentation at scrutineering. So that's the craft safety checklist complete, and we're ready to operate. If we were doing an initial scrutiny on a brand new craft, however, there'd be a lot more paperwork to complete. You'd need the initial scrutineering form, you'd need all of the appropriate information of how the craft has been constructed, the amount of buoyancy, fan tip speeds and fan hub types included, the type of containment system, and there would be a requirement for a flotation test as well, but that's to be covered elsewhere.